welcome to the Industry Show. I'm your host, Nitin Bajaj, and joining me today is Susan Robertson of Sharpen Innovation. Susan, welcome on the show.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here.
Our pleasure. So tell us who's Susan.
Professionally, I'm an innovation strategist, which means I consult with companies and individuals to help improve their creative thinking and their creative problem solving so that they are better at innovation, essentially. And personally, I live with two little dogs named Roscoe and Edith, and I'm a very avid ballroom dancer, and I love to kayak.
So tell us a little more about Sharpen Innovation.
So Sharpen Innovation is a consultancy, essentially, and I do a lot of corporate work. So I do a lot of corporate consulting and organizational work in terms of how to optimize your organization for creative thinking and innovation. And more specifically, I do a lot of training in creative thinking and problem solving processes.
You know, that brings me to this thought. You had an illustrious career as a 9-to-5 professional. You worked with some of the biggest Fortune 500 companies. Why make the switch to entrepreneurship?
I think a lot of the reasons, maybe some of the same reasons that many entrepreneurs do. One, I got much more interested in a specific aspect of the work, and the places where I was working before didn't allow me to focus on that specific aspect, which is the sort of creative thinking part. And also, I'm better on my own. I kind of chafe in a corporate structure, which is odd because a lot of my clients are corporate. So I understand their constraints and the issues and barriers and challenges that they have, but I'm better off not working within it.
So true. And you know, you mentioned you got interested in this space, but why specifically innovation and creative thinking?
Well, when I was working in large corporations, I was in brand management and marketing, and I had regularly found myself in the innovation part of that work. So I was typically doing new product development. And I discovered over time, I had a few rounds of deciding I don't like my job anymore, I'm going to go get a new one, and I'd go find myself a new job. And then I would like it at the beginning, and over time, I would begin to not like it again, and I would think, I'm going to go find a new job. And after about 7 rounds of that, I finally recognized my pattern, which was as the product that I was working on grew into a more maintenance phase, I began to like it less. Because I like the front end of development where everything is sort of nebulous and it's all, you know, it's figuring it out and making it clear and asking questions. That's the part I like. So what I was doing was continually finding myself a new job that put me back in that front end. And after I finally recognized my pattern, which took a while, and it took some help from a career counselor, I'll admit, I decided that what I needed to do was find a job where I could stay in that part more often. So that's when I went to a consulting company, and we consulted 2 brands and companies that were doing the same kind of work I'd done before, but just in that front end piece, which is the part I really liked.
Who would you say should consider design thinking?
It's what design thinking or creative problem solving, those are 2 very related processes. And what they really are is simply a structured, repeatable methodology to create the best conditions for your best thinking. So it doesn't matter what size or scale you are, you can do it on your own at your desk. The yes, but is the instinctive response to ideas, right? And as entrepreneurs, we have on some level maybe figured out some ways to get around that, but that negativity bias still exists. And this is a very specific thinking tool that you can just turn on whenever you feel that negativity bias kick in. And again, the trigger is yes, but, right? So when you have your yes, but response triggered, what you want to do instead is something that I call GPS thinking. And GPS stands for great problem solving.
Nice.
All right. And it is a 3-step process. So the first thing you do when you sense the yes, but coming is don't say it. And instead, you want to consciously look for what might be great in that idea. That's the G, what might be great. And this is not the instinctive thing your brain does. Your brain is instinctively trying to push you to what are the problems, but you have to consciously make the choice to first list what's potentially great. That's G. So once you've made a list of that, now you can move to where your brain is trying to take you the P, problems, but with one very specific difference. And that specific difference is you want to articulate the problem in the form of a how-to question. So instead of simply saying, it's too expensive, instead you say, how can I make it more affordable? And that one trick, that flipping of a problem statement into a question, is a neuroscience brain hack that will dramatically improve your creative thinking. So that's step 2, P, problem, articulated in the form of a question. Then step 3, solution, is you now solve for the problems you identified by modifying the idea, but keeping something about it that you thought was great. So you have permission in the solving part to change it in any way you want to, as long as you kept some aspect of it that was good. You can keep as much or as little of the original idea as you want. So that's GPS thinking. What's great? What are the problems articulated as a how-to question, and then solve for those problems by keeping something from the great list.
What has been your favorite failure?
I was fired from one of my corporate jobs, which was a hugely humbling experience. And at the time I felt kind of humiliated and ashamed, and it took me a long time to ever admit to anyone that, you know, I've been fired from a corporate job before. But in hindsight, it was one of the best things that ever happened to me, because it was, again, one of those things that prompted me to make a change, because that's one of the things that prompted me to go find that consulting job, which ultimately led me to sort of finding my real purpose in life. And I might not have done that if I hadn't been forced out of the comfortable spot that I was in. So while I didn't enjoy it at the time at all, in hindsight, it was a good thing.
Thank you for sharing that. I know it takes a lot of courage to be vulnerable. So thank you for doing that. What keeps you inspired and what motivates you?
It is the people, actually. I had someone ask me not very long ago, do you run into people who just don't want to do what you're asking them to do? And the truth is, yes, that happens, but it's fairly rare. Most people see the value in sort of growth and self-improvement. And when people say things to me like, that changed my life. And I've had people say that numerous times, like, you've changed my life. Wow, is that powerful? That's a, there's nothing better than that for me. So it is the people who keep motivating me.